RWA, the next big thing or major blockchain failure?
Hello once again, who hadn't had the chance to see my previous presentation. My name is Anna Agu. I'm managing partner and co-founder at Lexlow Office. And today we're going to talk about real-world assets tokenization, if it is a hype or the next big thing in the blockchain industry. And today on the panel with me are amazing industry experts and speakers. And I will give them a chance to introduce themselves. So let's start with you, Janina.
Thanks a lot, Anna. Yeah, I mean, we've been supporting blockchain-related projects, both Switzerland and Liechtenstein, since 2017. And I personally have done dozens of real-world asset tokenization projects, everything you could think of, from real estate to various commodities, physical diamonds, physical and digital art. And I truly believe that everything what can be tokenized will be tokenized, but we're in a very early stage of this development.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anton Golub. I'm a venture partner at Full Stack VC, which is an early stage investment fund. I've been in the crypto industry now for more than 10 years, and together with you as a colleague in Switzerland, founded several crypto companies and also involved in the space of tokenization and real-world assets through Swiss Asset DAO, which is a DAO in Switzerland.
Hi guys, I'm Attila Pinke. I'm actually local, so I'm from Hungary, and I'm running an educational platform. So mainly I have a YouTube channel where I provide daily fresh content about cryptocurrencies and blockchain, but also I published books here in Hungary about this topic, made some courses, and I have my own crypto club, put it this way. So I'm coming from the educational side.
Thank you so much for this amazing introduction. And as you can see, we have very diverse bunch of speakers today from Estonia, from Switzerland, from Dubai, and from Hungary as well. So let's start with the first question. My first question is to you, Janina. Can you please explain with the very simple words why we need to have the real-world asset tokenization and what it actually mean, and how it is different from the traditional financial instruments? And if.
Yeah, and if, that's a good question. If we try to simplify it really, in my opinion, tokenization is nothing but the good old securitization as we know it, redefined with token as technical wrapper around dematerialized financial instrument, dematerialized security as we know it under MiFID.
Yeah, so I think for the audience, it's very important to understand, like from the regulatory part, if there is conditions that are applicable to the securities are met during the virtual assets or real-world assets tokenization, we are talking about the classic regulation of MiFID. And it is not a subject of the MiCA regulation. It is not somehow related with the upcoming new rules. So it's a classic prospectus regulation. It's a classic MiFID. This is maybe one of the biggest myths related with the regulatory challenges to RBA. But we will talk about this later. My next question is, Attila, what do you think where we are now with the real-world assets tokenization market, and what are the main types of the assets that we have seen as a use cases in terms of the tokenization?
Okay, so I think as the whole crypto industry, it's kind of new thing. Recently, we started to get a hype since BlackRock, for example, introduced a new thing that they see the future definitely in tokenized securities. I think this definitely gave a push to that kind of industry. You could see different kind of cryptocurrencies related to this actually started to go higher and higher. But you have to understand that because we're at the beginning, and even it sounds very fancy and trendy right now, it happened with so many other things, like when we could see the NFTs and all these kind of things. There is the pump, there is the FOMO, everything, everybody believes that now this is the one thing and it's going to happen like in a second. But then you realize what kind of things we're facing here, such like regulatory issues and all these kind of things. But we have already, I think, a couple of examples on the market. In my personal opinion, the biggest real-world asset with 118 billion US dollar market cap is USDT itself, because it's representing US dollar. But if there's another example, we're talking about gold, and then we have Pax Gold, but also Tether Gold. So we do see a couple of examples already around, and I think this industry is definitely growing, but I think we have to pull back a little bit just to understand, to establish things, what's happening really here, and get it on the track before it gets too wide.
Thank you so much. My next question is to Anton. What do you think why we actually need the real-world asset tokenization, and what are the benefits of it?
Yeah, so I would first say that tokenization of real-world assets is one of the biggest hypes in the crypto industry now. So if you go and talk to anyone in the crypto industry, they will tell you everything of value will be tokenized and put on the blockchain, and that's the next big thing. And then when you ask them how big this will be, they tell you trillions of dollars. And then you close your eyes and you think, wow, trillions of dollars, that seems like a lot, you know? And all of the banks, all of the financial intermediaries, broker-dealers, even the governments will put all of these assets in tokenized form on the blockchain. But then you wonder, where are we now if we promise trillions in the next couple of years? And as you have said, actually, it's still in the infancy, right? And you have a couple of use cases like tokenized US treasuries, which is the biggest part of the real-world asset industry. You have a bit of gold, you have a bit of real estate. I think definitely stable coins are the most successful example of tokenization, but stablecoins don't give you any yield. So it's just a vehicle for you to hold a token of stable value, but it's not an asset in a sense that it has a price appreciation or a yield. So this is a separate category. And I think like when you ask me like for whom are real-world assets, and then the biggest thing you discover when you talk to people in the real-world asset industry, that at the moment, it's only crypto-native companies that invest into real-world assets. And then I usually explain it to people, why doesn't an institutional investor invest into tokenized real-world assets? Because when you talk to a big asset manager, they will tell you, or they tell me many times, they will tell me, Anton, I will not buy your garbage tokens because I have already a broker-dealer. I can call Goldman Sachs and tell them buy real estate. I can call my prime broker and tell them buy treasuries. I don't need your tokenized US treasuries. I don't need your tokenized real estate because I have access to all of these markets. So at the moment, the biggest part of the investments in real-world assets is crypto-native companies. So this is your DAOs, big treasuries. These are your market makers. These are your hedge funds. So everybody who is already in the crypto world cannot access the traditional finance world. This is your user of real-world assets. But maybe the good question then is, what are the banks waiting for? What are the other traditional asset managers waiting for? Why are they not in the tokenization space?
Thank you so much for this opinion. Janina, can you please take it from here? Can you please give samples of the real use cases that you have been working on? I know you had several projects in Switzerland related with the real-world asset tokenization. Can you please give us real samples of the practical use cases?
Well, yes, for example, physical diamonds. This has been a project of LCX, which is called Diamonds. This is live. You can Google it and you can purchase a token which represents ownership of a specific diamond, and you actually would have a claim towards, not really, I mean it's an ownership, so you don't really have a claim towards the issuer, but you have ownership rights, which means you have rights against any third parties, including the custody. And you can go and grab your diamond from the custody and let them send it to you, and you can transfer the ownership rights to this diamond without transferring the diamond itself. The same you can do with gold. We have done, for example, custody certificates also for gold, where you can do the same. With real estate, to be honest, you have normally traditional securitization options with real estate. It is either debt or equity, which means you either have bonds or you have, under the European IFMD directive, alternative investment funds where you tokenize the shares in a fund. With real estate, it is quite impossible to tokenize the ownership in a real estate directly, because in most countries that I know, you have to go through a notary or a state registration or both, which means you always need a legal wrapper around real estate, and then again, it's either bond or collective investment scheme investment fund. Yes. These are a couple of examples. Oh, an example which I also like, which we just discussed with Anton, are the carbon credits. I really love that one, but the market is also emerging. It is in a very early stage, which means for most of the projects, it makes sense to sell the carbon credits to large corporate buyers without tokenizing them. But I believe that the market will also at a certain point move the direction of mass adoption, and that's where tokenization kicks in.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's talk a little bit about obstacles or risk related with especially liquidity and custody of the real world assets. And this question is for you, Attila.
Okay, so, well, when it comes to custody, in my opinion, we have to look at both sides. First, we have the custody of the real world asset itself. So there we have a third party who have to trust. And to be honest with you, it could be so many things, like if that vault or whatever is not that safe, you can actually worry it could be robbed. But it could be like a national disaster as well, so it doesn't have to be like a human being doing something. So I think how they stored, how the custody is working, if it's a piece of art, and so on and so forth, how they look after it. Because if anything happens to that, the token is losing the value. But also on the other hand, as soon as we enter into the digital world and the blockchain, we have other kind of custodial things, because if you have a token, you can store it for yourself, you can store it on your hardware wallet. But as soon as that happens, you are the one who are responsible how to access it and how to protect your private keys. And if the private keys get stolen, for example, then those who stole it actually can get access to the token, and after that, that belongs to that person. It doesn't need to be connected to your personality if it's on the blockchain. So I think we have the custody from both sides. And when it comes to liquidity, that's another interesting thing, because one of the things why we start to think in real-world asset and make this happen, it's boost the liquidity. Because as soon as this happening, so for example, you have a property, but this is like a local thing, and if you would like to sell it, even if it's like in fraction of it, then you do it on the local market. As soon as it goes on the blockchain, it's like a global issue after that, so you can actually purchase it from everywhere. But that introducing other things. So, for example, with liquidity, then somebody owns, let's say with property, and a big share, but he would like to sell it. That will move the token price, because he's selling a big share, it pushing the price down, and maybe the others would like to hold it for longer term and they just do not like it. So this can cause also some liquidity issues. What if that area, what the real world asset represents, it at that time not a hot topic? So if it's a property and the property market is going down, for example, it's not working that much, and even we did it to boost the liquidity is not there, or if it's too small. But these are just examples.
If I may pick up on that, these are two major issues. Custody, well, these are actually not issue, but the stage of thing is that we have a functioning, regulated structure, centralized depositories for normal securities. And the structure simply works. And it needs, let's say, more incentives, economic incentives, to move the whole infrastructure on the blockchain, because it is a lot of costs and efforts which needs to be done. And the question is, do we really need it? I believe that in a perspective of 5-10 years, it's rather moving this direction because this is more efficient. But I believe there are not so many regulated facilities, trading facilities, which are allowed to do the custody of the blockchain and to do the secondary trading. This is a major issue when we talk about liquidity, because the investors of the security tokens, they do not have secondary markets as we have them for all the normal securities. So you basically don't know when you're going to exit this investment, and this is a major obstacle. And we have DLT pilot regime. Have you seen? I have seen applications, but I haven't seen licenses so far. That's too early. We have in Switzerland SDX, we have Taurus, but to get listed on SDX, you have to have 20 million own capital, which makes it equal to IPO. And then, in my opinion, security token offering was supposed to be something between the utility token offering and the IPO in economic perspective. And then it is not in the eyes of SDX. So yeah, there's still a lot to be done in terms of the infrastructure for custody and secondary trading.
Yeah, I do totally agree, and we have seen absolutely the same from our practice. We don't have a lot of practical use cases in Estonia, but we do have two projects. One is an interesting project. This is like a combination of different fintech products, and they are doing kind of crowdfunding through the real estate, and they are tokenizing the real estate and giving an opportunity to buy through the crowdfunding platform. To be honest, they are not very far with the final development, and one of the biggest obstacles, as you mentioned before, is the secondary market, because if we do have the not professional investors, the people would like to have some kind of assets which should be tradable on the secondary market, and if they do have some kind of obstacles related with the needs to sell this asset, there should be the solutions. But let's talk with the regulatory issues related with the real world assets. According to your practice, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more regarding this, Janina.
Yeah, the point that we also discussed with Anton, I mean, we have MiFID in Switzerland, we have FinSA, which has literally the same concept of financial instrument as MiFID does. But what you need, in my opinion, to be able to tokenize or put the security in the form of a token, put it on the blockchain in a specific jurisdiction, in my opinion, you need a national legislation that the security can be issued on blockchain, which we luckily have already in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. I have heard about other European countries, Luxembourg, Germany, which have introduced for certain types of digital tokenized securities this kind of legislation. Why it is important? Because in a worst case scenario, the judge has to be able to establish, was this security actually issued and how? And that's why, in my opinion, there is a need for national legislation which allows to issue those dematerialized securities on blockchain. Otherwise, it is called legal uncertainty when we don't know how the judge is going to treat it.
Thank you so much. So we talked about regulatory issues, we talked about the liquidity issues, custody issues, we talked about the questions related with actually adoption and why we do have the current stage with the market. But I would like to ask the question of our today panel. Do you think it is a hype, or you rather think that this is a blockchain failure? Let's start with Attila.
Yeah, so first I want to say that the real-world assets are a huge success for the hype that we have created. So if you just look at the attention that real-world assets get, it's phenomenal, right? But then if you ask in practice, like how much of this capital has been deployed in real-world assets, objectively, we are still at the beginning, you know? And maybe I will try to provide like a different angle to it. I think many times the question is like, why would you do Why would you put something on the blockchain? What added value does it really provide to people? And let me give you one example. In Dubai, in UAE, the land registry is on the blockchain actually. Now it's a private blockchain, it's not a public one, but it's on the blockchain. And then you might ask me, Anton, but why should I care about that? It's because Dubai is the only place on the planet where you can sell a real estate and close a transaction within 48 hours. In 2 days, you can sell a real estate. Try to do that in Europe, where we are now. It will take you 3 to 6 months. So I agree that we need to find use cases, but it's really then the point for whom are we doing that, right? And maybe the example that I gave with the land registry is a bit specific because it's a private blockchain, but it just shows you the power of digitizing a process, right? And the added value that it gets. And that's why Dubai has the hottest real estate market on the planet. Well, real estates are flipped all the time.
Attila?
In my opinion, day by day, our world is getting more digitalized. So the direction where we are going is definitely digitalization more and more. So I kind of have the feeling that we really have to fit this somehow in. Yes, it's a matter of time, but as you can see, and UAE is a great example how well over that works on the blockchain, and other countries can actually definitely learn from this. But really, so far, having so many jurisdictions worldwide and make this global, sometimes in the European Union, among countries, things are not working, not just something which goes on the blockchain and then it's like worldwide and everybody can have an access. So I think here is work to do, but I definitely see a great possibility in this, simply because it would make our life easier in many cases, not all cases, but in many cases. And as I said at the first place, that our life is day by day more digitalized, and this is the direction where we're right now going, and it's part of it.
Janina, very final remarks to sum up. Your thoughts.
Just to sum it up, I totally agree that we are in the early stage of everything related to tokenization. In 5-10 years, I believe those two infrastructures will be existing in parallel, centralized and decentralized, and then we would see how it is going to develop.
Thank you so much, dear audience, for your attention. I hope it was an interesting panel for you, and feel free to reach out to the amazing experts if you have any additional questions. Thank you so much for your attention.